Hello everyone, I'm back from aura farming in Japan, and I've brought a souvenir. Look at that, wow. Back this way, damn it! So last time we talked about this godforsaken team, we became free of the bald fraud, and down came one of God's angels, in the form of Maurizio Pochettino, to save whatever horrible disaster that has unfolded so far. And it would start with the 2025 Nations League, a tournament that existed solely for the good of the game, and absolutely nothing else. Officially, it was Poch time. The Supreme Leader quickly used his 1,000-year-long wisdom and experience to put together the greatest group fans of the Holy Crusaders of CONCACAF had ever seen. Matt Turner was still in goal despite playing less minutes for a club than Arda Güler. Most of the defenders you expected to see were there. Chris Richards, Charlotte's own Tim Ream, Joe Scally, and Anthony Robinson. Robinson in particular has been amazing for Fulham as of late. Midfield, pretty typical here too. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna. But Poch also decided to call up Diego Luna, who just a year ago was snubbed of a spot in the Olympic squad. Finally in attack, there was Maga Messi, Christian Pulisic, and Timothy Weah, who were definite starters. In particular though, life's been very good for the Fox News forward. Since signing with Milan, Pulisic has been a top player in the league, and was a big help in bringing Milan the Supercopa this year. And just when you thought life couldn't get any better for this guy, Pulisic is now dating a gorgeous Filipina. And here on the Macworld channel, we love our Filipina queens. However, the striker position was a little more uncertain. Bolarin Balogun has been injured since the beginning of December, and Ricardo Pepi just recently picked up an injury at the beginning of February. So this opened the opportunity for Josh Sargent. Sargent's been on a severe drought for the national team, but perhaps 12 goals in the EFL Championship could finally show what he's got. Poch also brought in Charlotte FC's Patrick Ajimang. He showed promise in Camp Cupcake, which is a window where MLS players go up against Eastern European C teams. However, there was more to him than just that. Ajimang is coming off a 10-goal season with the Queen City, and his overall build looks really good if he keeps developing at the rate he is. Also, Poch brought in Brian White, which, 15 goals, fair enough. He's 29 though. Fuck it, why not? Now, before the tournament even began, Poch, I guess, wanted to make some kind of statement. I guess. The head coach said stuff like he wanted to destroy Panama. He also said that the US could be #1 in 10 to 15 years. To be fair to him, he said this after seeing some nice facilities being built in Atlanta, but does he know about the... Never mind. And then there was this.
President, with your help, with the fans in behind, hosting the World Cup, all is possible.
Bro, come on, this is just dumb. How the hell is Trump gonna possibly help us win the World Cup? Ooh. Alright, finally, first game versus Panama, but wait 1 second because this isn't a USMNT window without some mid-window injuries. Anthony Robinson was ruled out, same with Austin Trusty and Johnny Cardoso. This prompted Poch to replace these players with 3 new ones, and one of them was a wingback. The wingback, Max Arsene, didn't really have that much experience, but he could at least fill in for the absent Robinson. Poch picked Musa for right back. Huh? Ah, God, what a crowd we have today for this game. Time to win a 3rd straight Nations League.
And there is the halftime whistle.
I'm gonna be real, the US attack honestly looked even worse than our last game with Berhalter. But hey, there's still the second half, and I know for a fact this isn't all we got. It was actually. The US attack had so little life that TMZ were licking their chops, ready to click the post button. However, Poch had an idea. Josh Sargent, off you go. I hope this is the last time I'm ever subjected to watching you play up top for us. Now, my fellow Charlotte brothers, raise your Bojangles boxes and cheer wines in the air, and start screaming the lyrics to Chicken Fried, because that's our fucking boy, Patrick. Go get him, son! Quickly, the king of Exit 3A on I-277 went to work and looked more dangerous than a neighborhood in West Charlotte. Finally, we're on to something here. Just smash and grab, boys. Not everything has to be pretty. It's CONCACAF after all. Wait, why is no one covering that guy?
The Waterman!
Just play the fucking clip.
Oh, the US could totally win the Asian Cup. It wouldn't even be a question. Okay, Mr. Superiority Complex, how about you maybe first figure out how to beat Panama away?
Alright, well, maybe we can get some redemption in front of, once again, such an incredibly packed stadium.
A couple of efforts and all of us shame!
Yeah, Donald, we're gonna need to make South Korea 2002 look like the peak of sportsmanship. But wait 1 second, because Poch actually started a number 10 in this game. And Diego Luna single-handedly made us look more competent. competent, carrying the ball with confidence, making the off-the-ball runs to open more space. Finally, the USMNT isn't more boring than the C-SPAN channel, and of course it had to be Patrick Agyemang to equalize. We are actually the biggest city in this country. However, into the second half, the US were struggling to fend off Canada, and of course, eventually, because there's no way you can trust this team to defend, we concede to a guy who was born in Brooklyn. And that was that. The stars we expected more from provided jack shit, and probably went to a hookah bar after the game. Now, I don't want to say too much about Poch because we're only 2 games into his tenure, basically. But did he just, not think to motivate our players even once? We looked the same and played the same in both of our Nations League matches. Credit to both for our opponents though. Canada's a very solid team, I'd say they're a top 3 team, and Panama are very much on the rise themselves. They have a really good coach and they've had a really good program throughout the last 2 years. But we didn't even fight, at all. Everyone for the most part just stood still. There was no fluidity, there was no kind of movement. The passing, truly meaningless. I've never seen more meaningless passes. Probably since Spain 2022. And also, we just had people ball watching. It was just the most basic of errors. All love to Diego Luna and Patrick Agyemang though. At least they gave us something. I especially loved to see Diego Luna play. He was always trying to win the ball back, always trying to find ways to create opportunities. Honestly, I'm very excited about Diego Luna. Man, I gotta say though, all this stress about the US men's national team sure makes me hungry. And with New York food prices, yeah, not a great duo. Well, today's sponsor, Huel, is here to help. Huel is no prep meals that don't compromise your health. I've been using Huel for the past few weeks, and it's been super convenient, especially when I need to focus all my energy into putting a video together. Huel is ideal for when you're pressured for time, on the go, in a rush, or away from the kitchen. All you need is some cold water, 2 scoops of powder, and shake. You'll have a convenient and nourishing meal in seconds. I love Huel's Black Edition, which is their low-carb, high-protein powdered meal. It has 40 grams of protein plus 27 essential vitamins and minerals. It's plant-based, gluten-free, and has no artificial sweeteners. Huel products are designed by nutritionists and dietitians to give your body everything it needs for a healthy meal in an extremely easy and convenient way. In short, you get a high-quality, nutritious breakfast or lunch for just $2.50 a meal. If you want to save money, save time, and eat healthy, use code MACWILL for 15% off your first Huel order, plus a free t-shirt and shaker, a $40 value. Again, that's code MACWILL for 15% off your first order, link in the description. Having a busy life shouldn't stop you from eating healthy, so check out Huel today. Please check out my description for the terms and conditions. Alright, so here's the segment where I just kind of go over everything that's wrong, so where do I even start this time? We want to destroy Panama. We just never learn, do we? I'm fully convinced at this point that this arrogance that has cursed the whole program for over a decade now won't go away until we fall so far from grace that our level is Sri Lanka and Bulgaria. It's like when you're on a night out and as you're trying to leave unscathed, that one dumbass friend just has to have the final say. I said this back in 2021 and I'll say it again. This team is the 2020 Los Angeles Clippers of football. And listen, USMNT only, and you other fucking clowns, you don't get to make fun of these statements when only a couple weeks before you were riding his shit. I get it's only been 2 games and the morale's really low, but even then, these performances are really concerning. Again, they were just soulless. Nothing happened. It felt like I just watched the pitch move more than the actual players. And this goes on into my next point. These players are not as good as what people want to make them out to be. Listen, as someone who also hyped up every player to the moon, I get it. We were so unbelievably down bad, and this was like the one year we hit a goldmine of talent this country has never seen before. But it's time to get real, because most of these guys are mid. And yeah, while I still believe Greg Berhalter was terrible, I will admit my anger towards him blinded me for a long time from the fact our players just aren't that good. Now, this wouldn't be much of an issue for me if it wasn't for the fact that the fan base, part of it at least, is genuinely the fucking worst. Step 1, see promising player. Step 2, hype him up more than he needs to be, and now that's a burden that he has to live with because there's so many people now jumping onto that fucking bandwagon. And finally, step 3, when he finally plays and doesn't live up to the hype, berate him. But trust me though, this delusion goes the length sometimes. Listen, I like Gio Reyna. I want to see the guy ball out so we can forget about his father's female referee fetish. But I swear to God, he gets the same level of PR as Korean food. Let me set this up for you. Stay with me. bulgogi does not need to be in every single dish imaginable. It just doesn't work. But I get why people do it. Bulgogi is a delectable barbecue meat that every person should have at least once. On the contrary, Gio Reyna is not good enough to have this type of PR. Like, I've seen it all, man. He will be non-existent in a 6-0 win, you know, the easiest way to get at least one stat. And people will still hype this guy up as if it was 2021. Gio, and agents of Gio that is probably fucking up his entire career. Please, I beg, move out of Dortmund, move to a club where Gio can actually play. Because I don't know if I can take another before the beginning of the season. Oh, is this finally Gio Reyna's time to shine? Please. Also, Christian Pulisic, world class? Shut the fuck up. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but YouTube has been doing this thing where it will throw a random low view count video into your recommendeds. Usually it's relevant to what you already watch, and it's also a really good way for videos that deserve more love to get that attention. Unfortunately, it seems like every one of those types of videos that gets suggested to me is some dogshit USMNT content. Going back a few months, I came across one of these types of contents, and the title was Christian Pulisic, officially world class. I had to click on it just to have a little bit of a laugh. And it did not disappoint. Because you want to know what their first justification was for Pulisic being world class? Foot mob ratings. Every day, we stray further from God. Now, don't get me wrong, Christian Pulisic has been super impressive for Milan, and it's been amazing to see him thrive finally. But world class? Are people insane? Part of me thinks this is some sort of joke I'm not aware of, but that would mean the USMNT community had enough brain cells to collectively do something like that. And quite honestly, they don't. Let's just debunk this once and for all. Here are some wingers that are better than Christian Pulisic. Vinny Jr., Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Mo Salah, Ousmane Dembele, Bukayo Saka, Rodrigo, Kvaradona, Bradley Barcola, Michael Olise, Desiree Doué, Kaoru Mitoma. After these two games, there's been a lot of people saying that these players just don't care. And to an extent, I agree, but I would even go farther and say they don't really know what it means to rep the Stars and Stripes. Unlike past generations, there's no collective chip on the shoulder. No relating to the fact that they're all outcasts being underestimated all the time. 2014 was the prime example of that in my personal watching experiences because these guys overcame the group of death. The nation's kryptonite Ghana, CR7's Ronaldo, the eventual champions Die Mannschaft Germany. I mean, that's insane. Even though this team was so inferior on paper, the way they fought made you have hope. The way they fought made you damn proud of your country, despite its many flaws. This isn't the case anymore though. Ironically enough, more players going to Europe and erasing the stigma has kind of left the national team with no unifying identity. A lot of that I think comes down to pay to play, but not in the way most people see it, where there's more concern about the talent pool. Pay to play has become significantly more expensive, meaning even more people less fortunate find it difficult to get into the sport every single year. And I think with this current generation, you're really starting to see that gap widen even more. There were either players that had enough money to go overseas and play their football there, or they were just Nepo babies. Not to say you can't be a good Nepo baby, I mean, look at Jack Quaid. But it still plays a big part in the upbringing, and I think in some sense it makes these players mentally soft. They only think for themselves, they don't know what it means to fight for everything. Not just for football, but for family and well-being in general. And this isn't just a US thing, this is also happening in Germany. There's concerns within the youth system that the young players are being coddled too much. There's not enough challenges for them. Everything is done for them. All the while, despite Germany having free-to-play programs nationwide, they're neglecting the youth that they just don't think is good enough. Reforms were recently made though, and this is like the third time that Germany has gone through a youth revolution. Meanwhile, back in the States. But I think the easiest way to really show that the USMNT players don't know what it truly means to rep the Stars and Stripes is to look at the Canadian national team. A lot of the Canadian talents you see today are sons of first-gen immigrants or are ones themselves, and many of them had very tough and challenging lives growing up. Keep in mind that these were guys getting into football around the time that Canada, and even its own national team players, didn't give a shit, which made this all the more difficult. And while Canada still has a lot of work to do in this matter, this generation of kids who have now grown up to be Canadian national team stars were given opportunities through free-to-play programs. I mean, Alphonso Davies, who was born in a refugee camp in Ghana and moved to Canada at just 5 because of a civil war, would have never been the sensation he is today if it weren't for Free Footy, a free-to-play elementary program. No matter social or financial status, these Canadian kids were provided equal opportunity. So now, you've got a Canadian team which may not be the best talent-wise, but because they were encouraged to embrace their backgrounds and were able to empathize with one another at such a young age, each and every single one of these Maple Leafs fights for each other, knowing what it truly means to be Canadian. So yeah, Canadian Soccer Association, can you please stop fucking up such a good thing? Yeah, thanks. But going back to the US, obviously, we don't really have any of those types of programs. So as a result, there's no majority fighting with a collective chip on their shoulder, just outcasts that, ironically enough, were the highlights of this window. I mean, we already talked about Diego Luna. He was snubbed of an Olympic spot last year. But before then, he was working his way through the lower divisions to get to that point. And every time Poch has called him up so far, you can see a fire in him that no one else has. Patrick Agimang, sure, could work on the finishing a bit, and is still a bit raw, but he worked his way up from D3 college soccer to a star striker for an MLS title contender. But this isn't really anything new. We just kinda didn't realize it because there was, at the time, a far bigger enemy in front of us. Matt Turner was basically a theater kid until 23 and didn't get a single call-up until he was 27. Dude has been crucial in goal for us, but unfortunately, a lack of playing time has taken a noticeable toll on him and his form. Ricardo Pepi grew up in a hard-working family in San Eli, a pretty small town that has double the nation's average in poverty rate. This already made him an outcast, but on top of that, Pepi was Mexican-American, an internal conflict he had to come to terms with. However, these two aspects of his life became superpowers as El Tren was determined to achieve his dream not only for himself, but for his immigrant parents who ditched their own grand ambitions to help make Ricardo's come true. Quickly, he became the star striker for FC Dallas after a few years in their academy, and then saved the US in a qualifier after scoring 2 goals and assisting 1 on his debut. At the end of the day though, I really believe the core issue is that most of these players have never truly lived uncomfortably in the world of football and even outside it. If none of this changes, yeah, we might have some great talents in the future, but this problem is only going to get worse with time. It's only going to get more expensive, and the disparity is only going to get larger. Because what the actual problem with the USMNT is the fact that there's no identity to play for. But it still honestly bewilders me. Are these guys just not aware that there's just one competition left before the greatest spectacle on earth arrives in our country? I mean, judging from how the players are performing right now, as if there's no urgency, it really doesn't seem like it. And now I just kind of think to myself, like, if this is how the players are going to treat this national team, and, you know, the federation isn't helping, the grassroots is still shambolic, I mean, why am I even wasting my time with this team? I already mentioned this, I hate a pretty good amount of USMNT Twitter. I especially hate the fuckers who make hate pretty much their entire personality, or hide their sad existence behind Bible verses. Oh, these wokies have to realize that they're not always gonna interact with someone who agrees with every single point they have. Yeah, no fucking shit. I live in New York now, but I grew up in the South for the majority of my life, born to an immigrant mother. My parents have very differing views from me, so I'm fully aware of the concerns. And I'm also aware that most people who did vote for the current president aren't just flat out racist people. Most of them. They're just ignorant. That's all it comes down to. And the only reason why they're ignorant is because that goes down to the other party looking down on these people and never talking to them, never interacting with them. That's why the country is in this position it is right now. I don't have a problem talking to people with differing opinions. I think it kind of becomes a bit of an issue when it's just someone who has like the merchandise or whatever, because at that point, you're just idolizing a president, idolizing a politician. It's weird. Stop doing that. Get a new hobby, man. And I feel like most people would agree with me here. And also at the same time, we wouldn't talk about politics at a football match when we first meet someone. That's weird. But I do always find that without fail, it's always these types of motherfuckers who will paint it a different way. They want to keep the division. that's on them. They will spew their hate and tell you that the other side, you should not associate with them whatsoever. And it's always so funny because they will always hide behind the argument, oh, but what about other different points of views? I've gone way too into this, so let me just conclude, right? As the saying goes, we can disagree on things like pizza toppings, but not human rights. I hate this federation that constantly drives me insane with every single decision they make. I hate the way we continue to deny kids who are less fortunate the right to the pursuit of happiness through pay to play. And I especially hate those small-brained motherfuckers who are just like, oh, who's gonna cover the costs? The Federation, dumbass. One little bit of research, you'll see that Belgium did it. One little bit of research, and you'll see that Germany has done it like 2 times. Oh, and what about these Federation sponsors, huh? Or, you know, the ticket revenue from hiking the prices for Panama, USA. And you know what? I'm honestly really starting to hate this team too. I grew up in awe watching this national team. They made me believe anything was possible through every single giant they managed to take down despite the odds. 2010, we were considered the comeback kings, the 0-0 win against England, Slovenia coming back from 2-0 down, the Landon Donovan goal versus Algeria. 2014, as we mentioned before, was just us against these giants, and again, we took them down. And I just don't see anything like this. 2022, I can't really look at that team and say like, yeah, you know, like there was a certain identity there. There really wasn't. And it's even worse now. We just have a team that's just so soulless. Like, there's not one thing to be excited about besides Diego Luna. So now what does this team make me believe in? That we're probably going to crash out in the groups if this keeps up. This video is all over the place, like, I know. But I really did kind of want to express my feelings about a lot of different things in the US soccer sphere that I feel like I haven't really been able to do because I've just been rushing through those types of videos. Because, you know, with views, first come, first serve. So now that I've come back and not really had the pressure of, like, having to get something out, I got to take time with this one. Of course, though, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balash, Lai Dice, Luke RBB, Aresan, Brazilian Fury, Jeremiah Owusu Ajimang, Django, Anazir Makalongkom, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kit, Taco Okafan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kentra Agatra, Saint Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Wise Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, Samu, Cheesebait, Winter Gel, M4 Dust Stuff, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davok, The Porter Geyser, TPSK 25, Prolo Protos, Von Fran, Lucien Von Kreuz, Gezeger Specialkiewicz, Mano Tango Fei, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Leakstab, Mudtanai, Sketchy Card, KM89, Apollo, Congo Jazz 1, German Sayu 7, Thrilling ADT 13, Los Milos, The FedEx Dude, Freya, Vecino, Jamie Vardy's 10th Red Bull, Mad for Amadiallo, Adiel, Falfin Nuki, Nightwalker, Napside, Money Cash Hose, Kev C, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Al-Tanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Broken Persona. Jesus Christ, the list gets even longer. But if you're interested in becoming a member on this channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch. We'll try to be doing streams like at least once a month, hopefully. But until then, I'll see you guys.